lumpy.
This is your all we do is win in shutout fashion. Leader Fan Radio Network, and KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 35 seconds past the hour, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. It is a Monday, day after edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a rather wintry Monday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro, the host of the program, former Ink Stain Wretch, newspaper The Twin Cities. Guardsy is the producer of the program, sidekick, and 6 or 7 other jobs at last count as well. We're delighted that you are along for today's ride that I believe is going the distance today. Is that correct? 6:30?
That is my understanding.
But that could change. Every once in a while, you find out later it's actually 6:15.
I just look over to my left, and it's a late-night Wild game tonight again, so it looks like we are going the distance.
What about the Wolves?
Wolves are on the app.
On the Timberwolves channel via the iHeartRadio app, you tell me. Rematch.
Oh, yeah.
Against the Phoenix Suns.
We
correct?
owe them one, right?
You could say that. We blew a lead in that one, didn't we?
Yes, that was the 8-point lead. I think.
Now, is that as much of a lead as your Golden Gopher women's basketball team blew?
It's not as much.
That's calamitous. I mean, that's got to be calamity. You were there for it. We will talk about it later.
Yes, sir.
As well. I almost still don't believe it.
You and me both.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah, I'm sure it was not a lot of fun. In any case, Vikings Talking Points will be part of the conversation today. In addition, the Monday regulars, Adam Thielen's no longer a Monday regular. However, Guardsy tells me Blake Cashman is going to join the show at about, is it 5:15?
5:15 after Ben Lieber.
So 5:15, Cashman, does he know the history? Has somebody told him? Or is he secure enough in his...
I think he's secure enough.
In his position that he doesn't think we could, the bumper-to-bumper jinx could somehow derail his career.
I still feel bad for Levi Drake Rodriguez.
That's the worst one, isn't it?
Where he comes on and inactive.
Within hours, he's got a crick in his neck. Same crick in his neck you did,
I know,
apparently.
And I'm still feeling it, so I wonder how he's feeling.
Also today, Jonny Athletic. He is a Monday regular, and he will join 3:30, is that correct?
Correct.
3:30 this evening. Lots to get to. Eventually, we will hook up with the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line as well, which is, as always, 64686. In the history of the National Football League, how many times has a team gotten shut out one week and shut out its opponent the next week?
Well, I know one other time for sure, right? Because it happened in like the 90s, I think.
Is that right?
I thought that's what I heard today.
Okay.
But I don't know how many.
It's got to be fairly rare, I would think. Now, back in the old days when there weren't as many points scored, maybe not so much, where you routinely might be losing a game 10-0 in the snow or whatever before offenses were offensive. But it was about as dramatic a reversal as one could get. What did we lose by? 26-0? I think we lost 26-0.
Sounds right.
That was to Seattle, right?
Yes, on the road.
On the road. And then we come back home, and we end up winning 31-0. And what's funny about it is that we decide to take the ball. We want our offense out there. We want to believe in JJ. And we march right down the field. And Washington gets the ball, and they march right down the field. And you're starting to think, right there, I'm thinking shootout. We might end up with a shootout here. I don't think Washington ever got close again, right? Very little.
They got kind of close before the Van Ginkel pick, I think.
Did they?
It was a 4th down. It was kind of close.
Yeah.
Not red zone close.
Not red zone close, though. And it was not a ball game from that point forward. Everybody's trying to, well, in the short term, it did exactly what the Vikings needed it to do, right? It took a little of the pressure off, eased the pain, reminded the Vikings that they are capable of winning a ball game, because it's been a while since we'd won one. Been a while since we won a home game. But I can't for the life of me understand, and I'm not saying the players are doing this, but how do we that quickly? I guess what I'm stumbling through and stammering through is it doesn't take much for some of us to almost get haughty again. And you wonder where that comes from. Like, are we so lost in the moment each week, good or bad, that we forget the bigger picture? Example, the Vikings website. I don't know if you saw it. They noticed apparently that the ESPN panel.
Oh, geez. Oh, no.
I'm not making this up unless I hallucinated it.
I believe you.
Which I guess means I would be making it up. They noticed that literally, I think it was literally every panelist that they cited.
Oh, no.
Picked Washington.
Yeah.
And the headline was something to the effect of, predictions are hard. And I'm thinking to myself, look, I know that's the bit with media sites now. That's your job a little bit.
It's a 26-year-old social media person.
Exactly it. But shouldn't that be vetted by one adult to say, do we really want to do this? Do we really want... Because that, to me, is what takes away from what should be a victory that you don't have to apologize for, in which a lot of things went well, especially offensively, because the head coach, first of all, finally did what we asked him to do in September. More on that later. But are you really, with a straight face,
I'm looking at it.
Going to act surprised that there might not... Look, there were a couple things that might be leading people to the opinion that Washington was going to win. Now, I picked the Vikings. You picked the Vikings. The first pick I've gotten right in about a month. Sort of like the Vikings. But in all honesty, they just came off one of their worst games, maybe literally their worst offensive game ever, according to some of the analytics. Okay? They're coming back home to play a Washington team that's not very good, but they're getting their quarterback back, who's been good, although not as good this year as he was last year. And so who knows? You got to pick a game. And you're actually going to act outraged or stunned or try to stick the needle in that predictions are hard after the Vikings have put their fans, the organization itself, through this season, going into that game? It's like, why? It's so unnecessary. But I guess, again, we are prisoner in football more than any other sport. For good and for ill. I think we are, no matter, even if in the back of our minds we know what has come the weeks before, what might come later, we just get captivated and captured by the natural high of, man, everything that went wrong last week went right this week. No stupid penalties, or few. No stupid turnovers, right? Getting takeaways. The
fourth down stops.
Fourth down stops. You're right. The quarterback looking laser focused, playing like an adult quarterback, which was true. It's undeniable. But really, there's got to be somebody that goes, no, we're not going there. Maybe if we've won 5 in a row and week 6 we do that, but not. You beat a team that came into the game with a worse record than yours. I looked it up today. I think I did the math right. We've beaten 2 teams at home this year. Their combined record is 7-19. You know, I mean, again, you don't apologize for your wins, but it's just, come on. We're that haughty again? So I'm sure the team isn't. I'm hoping that that's the case.
No,
that
the players and the coaches.
I just have to, You know
what they should have said?
What's that?
Either thank you or I'm sorry. It's thank you for even bothering to pick our game.
That's very humble, yes.
It's 4-8 versus 3-9, and I'm guessing that's about as much thought as all those people put into
You're
it,
exactly right?
Because we know how these things work.
8 seconds.
They're looking for clicks. They need clicks. Hey, remember, you got to get your picks in by Thursday. Get them in so we can post it. Or I'm sorry that you had to waste the 8 seconds to pick our meaningless game because neither team is going anywhere at this point in the season. Should have been thank you or I'm sorry.
Predictions are harder, like in the NFC title game. Maybe you say, that's a big one that you say for a big occasion, not beating Now, you tell me. I don't know how much of it you watched.
The Vikes? I watched all of it eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Washington did not want to be there. Randball has a piece today where he says that for the people who want the Vikings to tank, they get snarky about it and they get disappointed. But the truth of the matter is players play to win, and players want to try. Well, I will tell you, I watched that game pretty closely, and I don't think after about a quarter and a half, Washington was interested in participating at all. I don't. That was as pig-like a non-performance. Once that we got past that first drive,
yep.
To me, they had zero interest in being there at all. Now, again, that's not the Vikings' fault, but I'll give most players the benefit of the doubt on because I don't think most players are interested in going down a tanking road. And I'm not even saying Washington was tanking for the purposes of a higher draft choice. It just looked to me like they were checked out. They said, "Well, what's our record again?" And we didn't score on that first nice drive. Oh hell, what's the difference at this point? The tackling was now they're not a very good defensive team.
That's part of it. How do we know the difference defensively?
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about we got good Vikings talking points. I do also want to talk about the speech. And I may be asking the wrong person because you live in this world, and you know with PJ loves the speech, and a lot of times, actually, I don't know how often the Gophers release what he says to the team after the game. As often, if he does, they do it as often as the Vikings do.
Right.
But I want to get back to that subject as well because to me, it's all part of the same deal. So I hope we're not as haughty as that. You know, we're going to stick the needle in all those doubters. How could you possibly have doubted the Minnesota Vikings 12 games into this season? You know why? The predictions are hard. Tim writes that according to our guy Peter Bursich on Fox 9 last night, this is the first time ever that an NFL team was shut out by 25 or more one week, then shut out their opponent by 25 or more the next.
I could see that, yeah.
That's a bit, that's more specific, but that makes sense because it isn't just, you know, the shutout reversal, it's by how many points. The last time an NFL team was shut out, then pitched a shutout the next week was the 93 Broncos, he says. Now, I don't know, you might have different information there. Let's get to the first Vikings talking point before I mention the speech after the game. I call this the drive, even though it's the shorter of the first two. I still think because it came first, it did set everything else up. So I'm going to call it the drive.
It is 2nd and 7 for the 4-8 Minnesota Vikings from their own 42 empty backfield. 5 receivers against a 3-man rush. McCarthy, he'll throw short to Ben Sims. Ben Sims with his first catch wearing the colors. That's a gain of 9 yards, Pete, and a Vikings first down.
Yeah, and getting the ball out to midfield. So Vikings win the toss and elect to take the football. So that's I think that's Kevin McCarthy or Coach O'Connell trying to put his faith into J.J. McCarthy and say, hey, you know, we can move this football. We need to get out fast, score some points. So here we go.
2nd and 3 for the Vikings as McCarthy goes out of the shotgun. We're scoreless. He'll throw left, caught first down. Pitch and catch. T.J. Hawkinson in front of the Washington bench, 35. Shoved out of bounds at the 32. 9-yard gain, first down. 1st and 10 from the Washington 32. McCarthy shotgun, 2 receivers right, 1 left, and it's going to be Jalen Naylor on an end-around speeds to the 25 far side. He's encountered at the 24, and he'll be stopped after a gain of 9 yards. Speedy Jalen Naylor with a 9-yard run. 2nd and 1. McCarthy empty backfield, 3 receivers right, 2 left, first down from the Commanders' 18, 4-man rush. JJ to the end zone. Touchdown! 18-yard touchdown to Josh Oliver, and the Minnesota Vikings have taken a 6-0 lead.
That's just plain 3 deep zone coverage. by the Commanders, and it was a skinny post on the backside. So what a great route by Josh Oliver, getting his third touchdown of the season. So Josh Oliver has become a pretty good threat, especially in the red zone.
Will Reichert for the field goal try, make that the extra point try. He is 19 of 19 this year, 57 of 57 in his career. Ryan Wright holds. Andrew DePaula snaps. Snap spot. Extra point is good. And the Vikings win the toss, and they take the ball, and they snap that touchdownless streak at 8 quarters and about 4 minutes. Well done.
There it is. 7 plays, 61 yards, 3 minutes and 57 seconds. And obviously the next drive went on forever. I think the longest drive they were seeing on the TV broadcast since the turn of the century.
Right.
I'll take them at their word for that. I don't know. But I actually thought this is what set everything else up. And what struck me about the approach on this drive, it wasn't merely running a decent amount, which between the 2 drives, the Vikings ran a lot, especially on first down, with some success, too. It was ball hike to the QB, it's out of his hands in no time. It's out of his hands even quicker the next time. It's out of his hands even quicker the time after that. Boom, 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 boom. Now, again, eventually, teams force you to adjust, and then it might be a little harder to hold on to the ball or to get rid of the ball all that quickly. But if you followed that drive, which was, you didn't include it because it wasn't particularly memorable. It started with a 3-yard run. Then it was a 9-yard pass. Then a 7-yard run by Jones. Then a 10-yard pass to Hockenson. Then a 9-yard pass. Then a 5-yard run. Then an 18-yard touchdown pass. Everything was quick, decisive, in and out of the quarterback's hands quickly. And I'm saying to myself, where was that drive in September?
We're aligned. We are aligned.
Where, and again, I know circumstances change and opponents and all that sort of thing, but I just, it's not because it's, the individual plays aren't as pretty, but they're effective. And for a new quarterback, to me, I'll say from the beginning, no matter what you think he's capable of becoming, I still think the cliche, it's one of the oldest cliches in all of sports. Give a young player a chance to succeed. Give him some success points where then he's feeling better about himself. And to me, that's what that drive represented. It was well thought out. It was well planned. And it was just crisp, right? Everything about it was in and out of the huddle fast, get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback or hand the ball off. Let's just keep moving. I mean, we said the first pass was to a tight end that I think he's caught like 4 balls in 12 years.
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was.
We didn't know. I had no idea who he was either. But guess what? It kept the chains moving, or it put you in position where we had no 3rd and longs. In fact, I don't even know how many 3rd downs we had.
On that drive, we
had 0 drives.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think the next drive we did have a bunch of successful 3rd downs.
Yes, 4.
But most of them, I mean, here are the 3rd downs in the 19-play drive. 3rd and 6. 3rd and 9 is more than you'd like. Mm-hmm. I guess you get away with it. 3rd and 8, that's still not great. And there was a 3rd and 12, so we did a little bit, but
the JJ screen kind of pass.
That's it. That's correct. How did we get a first down out of that on 3rd and 12? And it said, was there a penalty on that play?
No, it went for 13 yards.
Oh, it went for 13. Yeah, yep. You're right. It went for 13. Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. 13-yard pass. So the idea here again is, I hope the lesson is learned. Now it's going to be harder. Maybe it's not going to be harder next week because Dallas, like Washington's, a bad defensive team. The difference is you're on the road. It's louder. They're playing for a playoff berth. They're desperate. Washington is desperate to end the season, I think, at this point. You're going to say?
The thought you had was the exact thought I had. Wouldn't it have been nice to have this be one of the first building blocks of the season?
Yes.
And because it was pretty obvious, and I think it was Drew Brees, right? And Amin, they were saying, especially early, JJ was just kind of getting the first look and going. They were making it simple. To use the basketball analogy, he saw a couple go through the basket, right? Exactly. His first couple shots, you see him go through, and everything's smoother and easier after that. Opponent, of course, matters. You said it last week. If not now, when?
Yeah.
For the offense to do something, given how dreadful Washington's defense has been. But that's how you bring a young quarterback along. Not base balance, Brosmer, Bahamas, body, posture, feet and eyes. Just let's get a couple of things going here, and then we'll add to it if we need to.
You could always add.
It just doesn't make any sense that they did it in reverse, because it was just nice and clean. And of course, it's got to get better. Everybody knows that. But it was a great place to start yesterday and beyond.
That's it. That's what you're looking for. I've been described occasionally as a cynic, and I guess I can be at times. And sometimes I just can't help seeing what I see. And so the speech that was sent out from the post game, the message that was delivered by the head coach, I'll be honest, I've reached a point where I wish none of those would be released any longer, because I think they have become, in my opinion, way too performative. And the one last night was basically, you know what? You guys could have quit. You guys could have walked away and not, but you know what you did? You dug deep. It's like, what else? I mean, I actually, and this is probably why I wouldn't be any more successful than Mike Zimmer with this generation of kids in terms of coaching, but I'd actually prefer the Zimmer approach, which would be more like, you're damn right you kept playing. That's our job. We're obligated to keep playing. I'm not gonna pat you on the back with 5 games to go quitting. So I guess I don't understand why that message resonates with anybody. I mean, consider us, for example. When we have 2 or 3 or 4 bad rating periods in a row,
excuse me,
then are we supposed to just hang our heads and just say the hell with it? Or are we supposed to do what we have to do, which is you gotta keep going because they're still paying you. So we have to plow ahead and continue to work and not necessarily expect to be patted on the back. You could have quit after the 4th consecutive bad ratings book. You could have said, you're done. I'm done with this. But you know what you did? You came in that next quarter and you tried to put together a decent program, and by God, we appreciate that. That's their job, is it not?
It is. Not? Yes, you're right. You would not do great with this generation of players. You're right. I understand the KOC speech, and I get what he was doing, and because I think everybody does that in their jobs to a certain degree, and says, if the college graduate, on graduation day, if they said you were going to have this job and you'd be happy about it, everybody's got to find ways to motivate themselves as they get older, right?
That's true.
I understand it. I get it. However, when you're pulling it out in early December, it means you're in trouble. It means the season has gone awry. Which is fine, but that's what you have to do to get, because you don't have anything else. You have to go back to the aren't we lucky to play this game card. That means your season has been not good.
I would say I know he can't look at it this way, but I can. The opponent, I don't think you waste it on a 3-9 opponent whose quarterback wasn't particularly good when he played after their first drive anyway. He didn't look that interested to me, and they did a great job putting heat on him. More on that later with Blake Cashman. But also, I think if you're going to pound your fist about, we stood tall, that's not the game I would pick. Maybe after Dallas next week because it's a road game. Or if you get on a little bit of a run and you come back home and you do it against, don't we have Green Bay and Detroit back to back?
We do at the end,
yeah. Yeah, okay, that to me that makes more sense. But I'm supposed to be aroused by the fact that you pummeled the Washington football team in the middle of a season in which they even had a worse record than you on, and that you did, and that proves that you guys are not quitting. You guys are continuing out there. You're committed to this thing. And you're going to make it work. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We'll see what our next guest, Jonny Athletic, thinks. Don't forget, we got Ben Lieber coming up at 4:47, who apparently predicted in a conversation with Mark Craig the outcome right before game time. So we'll get to some of that with Lieber. And then, as I mentioned, Cashman is scheduled for 5:15. A lot of good Vikings talking points, many more to get to.
Jonny Athletic. And he's on the Dan Barreiro right now.
RBC Wealth Management is the fine sponsor of the Jonny Athletic segments on this program. Amazingly, some texts have already come in. One is directed at you. The timing, by the way, of your visit, I mean, there's nothing conspiratorial about it. You're off and on Monday, but it's convenient for you because the hockey team was on an unconscious roll, but now in the last couple games, they're back in a tailspin. So you never have to be like brought to justice for your inability to praise and appreciate what the hockey team was doing because they're no longer doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. Have the playoffs started already?
That's unbelievable. Clayton,
you want that? You want that from me, Dan? I'm just giving you what you want.
That's probably true. Clayton from Rochester. Dan, how many times did Johnny say, "Ooh, boy, that's a nice pass," while watching your guy Fernando Mendoza? So much for 5 in a row for Fernando. Now, you were, I think, working. Were you not at Wolves game the night of Saturday night, Indiana, Ohio State? Did you end up seeing any or all of that game? You sent me a nice text of congratulations, as if I had anything to do with it. But did you get to see any of it, or were you too? Did you just hear about it?
Yeah, no. So I watched bits and pieces of it with the game going on, but also, Mike Conley is a Buckeye, and
that's right.
So after the game, a lot of conversation with Mike about it. Then went back and kind of looked at some of the highlights and stuff. So didn't see a whole lot of it as it was playing out. Saw a few things here and there, but then watched back afterward. Incredible. Like, I was legit happy for you as a Hoosier. Thinking about how hopeless it must have felt forever and ever. And then to climb the mountain like this, it's got to be one of the more unlikely stories ever. And those are always the most fun, is the ones you don't see coming. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah. Leaving aside that's where I went to school. It's got to be, there are people who believe it's the number one college football story of the last 25 years. I don't compare all that many, but when you factor in the history, it's right up there. There have been very few like it when we're talking about this kind of reversal. But I don't want to turn this into Hoosier Hotline any more than we already have. Let me ask you a question on before we get to the game itself, and I want to try to get some Wolves stuff in today too. The question of when a decent part, or maybe too big of a part, of what a team does or what a team releases to the public starts becoming formulaic and performative. The example I gave earlier was, the head coach, as all head coaches do or tend to, gave a speech after the game. And that speech, for the first time in several weeks, because it was a victory this week, was what one might expect from Kevin O'Connell. We hung in there. You didn't quit. You kept going. You could have gone. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the exact quotes. And I admonished it a little bit because I'm thinking that's one I would save for beating a better opponent or in a more important game. But my issue is, because a couple people who said they played for teams said, "Hey man, if you're a member of that team, you need something from the coach after a game." My argument isn't with that. My argument is with, why is it that it has to be released to everybody else? Because I think it comes off then rather performative, that's you're trying to make some kind of a PR point, as opposed to what makes sense in the locker room. Coaches say stuff that I might not relate to, but it's not for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I will say that has been a pretty new phenomenon, even for the content-saturated NFL, is that it seems like in the last, I would even say only 2 years or so, it just seems like every team now blasts out the victory speech from the coach, because every team wants to show how excited they are and how united they are and all of those things. And it's just another way of trying to show the fans what's behind the curtain a little bit, and probably a little propaganda, because your team is never higher, is never feeling better about itself than after a win on Sunday or Monday or Saturday or whenever they play. So I'm with you in terms of is there nothing sacred anymore? But I don't think there is. I just think that anything that is consumable is going to be consumed. And I mean, if you want to be really authentic about it, put out the losing speeches too.
Exactly.
And how do you stay together when you're in the tailspin? But that's not going to happen. That's just unrealistic at this point.
That's where I'm more like, and I admitted this to Guardsy. I'm like Zim. That means I probably can't relate to any of the kids who play sports right now. I would actually rather have Zim say, well, I'm not going to thank you for playing hard. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to be doing, for God's sake. And it was against a team that quit about halfway through the second quarter. So, I would hope that we would at least do. We're supposed to be professional, but that probably doesn't. That message probably doesn't play as well.
One thing I will say on that, Dan, quickly, is just I do think that O'Connell's message there does speak to the depths they were in. Yeah, that's fair. Previously, I think that everyone was pretty darn worried about where it was going after the Seattle game. And so even if you beat up on a really bad opponent, well, you've been a really bad opponent for a while now. And so that's what I took from it is, hey, here's a coach that finally has some positivity, and maybe was probably a little more worried than even he was letting on about it.
This text came in, not necessarily for you, but worthy of discussion. I missed the top of the show. Apologies if you mentioned this, but Jefferson, 15 yards. What in the hell's going on? He's going to want out, as he should. Why does Kevin have to say we're going to find ways to get him the ball? It shouldn't be hard. Coach of the year. That's from Purple Kool-Aid is tasteless guy. And, I'm torn on this one because, again, it was highlighted several times. The problem you have is the amount of attention and coverage. Once again, it feels like Washington said, we're going to double and triple team him everywhere. We don't even care if you burn us elsewhere. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take our chances. And I don't know what you do with that. I mean, we went through the Randy ratio a long time ago, and Tice got ripped for calling it that, and that's too obvious. And what are you trying to say? And you're giving people the game plan, even though I thought, well, everybody knows you're trying to get the ball to Moss. So I don't know what the answer is. I think that JJ's got to be smart. Jefferson has to be smart enough to know after a game like that, you can't complain. You're going to look silly if you complain. But obviously, you have to try to find a way to get your best player the ball more often.
Yeah, you do. And it honestly, Dan, it feels a lot like what we're seeing at Target Center these days with the Wolves and Anthony Edwards. You're seeing opposing defenses absolutely load up on Ant and just saying, if we're going to lose this game, it's not going to be Anthony Edwards that beats us. And that is frustrating for him to go through. Like, he does not like that. And so he has to try and be the good soldier and make the smart play and get off the ball and get the ball moving. And it has been working lately. They've won 5 in a row and all that, but it doesn't make it sometimes easier for young superstar players to handle it. Now, yes, I believe that Justin Jefferson can come out of a game like Sunday when they win 31-0 and everything goes great, feeling a little bit better about the situation than Seattle when they get absolutely blown out and worked. But for this thing to go forward and be sustainable against good teams, of course they're going to have to be able to get Justin Jefferson more involved and get him to be a playmaker and an impact player, because that makes things easier on everyone, from Addison to Mason to J.J. McCarthy to everyone, when he is a force. And so they're going to have to find ways to get defenses out of that, double and triple blanket coverage by hurting them with other players. And then maybe that really does open the door for Jefferson. But it's been stark how deliberate defenses have been in saying, we are taking 18 out and you're going to have to find another way to beat us. And credit to the Vikings, they did it against a bad Commanders team. Now they're going to have to do it against a better Cowboys team.
They offensively, especially, ruthlessly, and I thought very surgically took out a bad defense. And when I say surgically, I mean, as you well know, as we talked about earlier in the show, might be a 7-yard pass. Ball's out of the hands quick. Not a lot to think about. Not much of an opportunity for Washington to do anything about it. And also running the ball a lot. The question to me on the table, and it worked, exactly to me the kind of philosophy that he should have started the season with, KOC, with the quarterback, and then moved from there. But that's not the question now. The question on the table that I want to ask you is, does KOC have it in him to stick with this approach? Not just 1 week, but maybe for the next 4, and maybe you add a few things here or there, but I'm still not convinced that he is able to sort of completely reinvent the wheel in terms of this is not the same. Who said this yesterday? I don't remember who. This is not the same offense that we saw under KOC, certainly under Kirk Cousins when it was going as well as it was, and even a couple of other examples. This is a very different kind of offense. Does he have the discipline to stick with it?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, Dan, we will see, because this does go against everything in his coaching DNA.
Yep.
Like he wants to throw the ball deep. He wants to do exotic formations and pre-snap motions and have the quarterback really surveying and making adjustments and all of those things. But it doesn't cater to what J.J. McCarthy needs right now. Maybe down the line, he will get to a point where he is capable of handling all of that responsibility. But what was made clear earlier this season was that he was not ready for that. And one thing that keeps ringing in my head, Dan, about Kevin O'Connell and what he has said in the past, very openly and honestly, is most often is the case that organizations fail young quarterbacks more than young quarterbacks fail organizations. And so if he really believes that, and if he really is going to stick to that mantra and give J.J. McCarthy the best chance to succeed, he is going to stick with what they have done, what they did this week, and just kind of spoon feed it to him. And you hope that maybe week after week, you can add a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But it is clear right now that if you give him the whole plate, he's not going to be ready for that. He cannot handle it. And so the best thing for this young quarterback is to do it piecemeal and to slim things down and to make it easier and then build from there. And that is just what is required of Kevin O'Connell right now. So if he doesn't do it and they revert to what we've seen from McCarthy in the past, then that's on O'Connell as much as it's on McCarthy right now. It's
okay also to use your other tools. I mean, to me, that's also what was indicated. And again, it's a bad defense that was not all that interested in playing yesterday. So you're not getting the final verdict by any means. But that's the opponent. That they were the ones in the arena, yesterday. So you got to play who's there. And again, you've got some running back options. You've got some receiver options, even if it's not going well for Jefferson. And don't be afraid to use them. That to me is a big part of this. All of that, I think, works towards creating excellence for the QB, right? I think, and you'd like to think that for him, and I don't know if they simplified the playbook. I just felt like his decision-making was quicker. Now, there are a couple plays where it wasn't the first read, but even the second read, it was out pretty quick, on almost every play. And so whether it's the play call or however the head coach is encouraging him in that regard, I'd stick with that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And like you said, not just the play calling, not just maybe the pre-snap adjustments were fewer and you weren't putting as much on JJ's plate that way, but you're also running the ball a lot. It's a featured part of the offense and not just something you do kind of out of spite or just begrudgingly, but it is a central part of the game plan. And to your point about bad defense, you're right. It was a bad defense, so we can't make grand conclusions that J.J. McCarthy is definitely back and that everything is going to be great. But what they did was they dominated a bad defense. This was not a nail-biter. This was not something that was the outcome was in doubt going down the stretch to a point where KOC could look at it and be like, you know what? I'm not really sure if this approach was indicative of something that we need to do or if it was just the opponent. They from start to finish controlled that game in a way they have not been able to control it. And so you at least have to look at that and say it is worth exploring further and keep going. And we'll see what happens when the opponent steps up, including this week.
Yeah.
But you at least have some sort of a blueprint to work off of right now.
We've got a few minutes to talk Wolves, and eventually the Viking season will be over, and then we'll be able to go more in depth into your favorite club. But if you could pick an overarching story right now for people who maybe haven't paid as close attention to the Wolves as they ordinarily would because they're distracted by football, by other things, what do you think folks should be paying attention to? What is Jonny Athletic paying attention to regarding his favorite basketball team?
Yeah, it's been up and down so far. There's been some close games that they've struggled to close and things of that nature. But if you're looking for one enduring theme right now, I really think, Dan, it's the rise of Jaden McDaniels. Mm-hmm. It's what he has become as an offensive weapon in addition to what he is doing defensively. But he's shooting 48% from three. Is that sustainable? Probably not. But you watch the way he's getting his shots. You watch how confidently he's shooting them. That's a huge thing. But it's more than just the threes. He is creating off the dribble. He is creating his own offense. He is scoring efficiently on high degree of difficulty shots. Yeah. And he's making it look easy. And he's emerged as a clear-cut 2B or 3 option that, now that he's established, you say, if that is the pecking order of Edwards, Randall, and Jaden McDaniels as a real difference maker, that makes this team a lot harder to deal with, especially in the playoffs. And so that's a really, really encouraging thing so far.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Are we running? We're not a team really that runs a lot of plays, I don't think. But are we running more action for him? I mean, because there's always that thing where with him it was, well, he'll get what's left over. He'll just, get a grab, whether it's grabbing a rebound or finding himself open in the corner, whatever the case may be. We don't really run much for him. Are we running anything more for him now that he is clearly showing a greater offensive aptitude?
Yeah, Chris Finch has said that he is calling Jaden's number more often because he knows that he has to do that to get Jaden McDaniels involved. Yep. Like, Finchie is not a guy who wants to be a puppet master orchestrator that way. He wants the offense to flow. But when you have ISO-heavy guys like Edwards and Randall, it's very easy for McDaniels to sort of be stuck in the corner, not really moving, and then that doesn't do anybody any good. And so Finch has had to be more deliberate about calling plays, about orchestrating things and getting the ball in Jaden McDaniels' hands. And you're also seeing the rotations tweak just a little bit, Dan, to where McDaniels has seen a little bit more time with the second unit where he is maybe only with Randall and not with Edwards. And so there's more opportunities for him to have the ball in his hands and go with it and be more of a scoring option. And so there's been a few tweaks that way to try and get McDaniels into the double-digit shot attempts every single game because he's earning that with the efficiency that he's shown.
That's good insight. Did you get a Wally duck Saturday night?
I did. Alarmingly pink lips, Dan. Looks like maybe
the hell's all that all about?
But
what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know what that. I'm not sure what that's.
You got one too, Gargi?
Other than
Wally
that,
duck? Yeah.
I was in attendance. Yeah, I got a Wally duck. They were good to help the Brickin' for Chicken when we were squeaking the Wally ducks.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because we got that on Saturday too, and then they went on like a 9-0 run after we got the chicken. Everybody went crazy, and then the Clippers I think tied the game back up. But it was great, epic.
Wally was there. He was wearing the jersey. It looked great. So. It was good.
He got interviewed during the broadcast. I wasn't so married to my Hoosiers that I never switched over. I saw a decent amount of it, and I did see Wally. Does the duck, when you squeeze it, does it make a noise?
It sure does.
Oh, it does. Okay, that's the whole point. That's part of the deal. That's it.
Yep, it squeaks. Yeah, so it's a fully functional bathroom duck. So they went all out for
A-Rod is sparing no expense.
Obviously. That's good to know. When did this duck phenomenon start? This is the new bobblehead, sort of? Or is this considered...
Well, this is like version 2 of the Wally duck, right, Jonny Athletic?
See. Okay.
They did it way back then for Wally, so it was like a remix of the original.
Of Wally duck.
And I want to say I think they did a KG one, too. And if you remember, Dan, I don't know if you remember this, our guy Zagoda, when he was on the beat...
Yeah.
Way back in the day, like the Strib was starting to do some videos and incorporating that, and he did one from his bathtub.
He did?
Where he had a rubber ducky kind of floating in the bathtub, and it was a legendary moment on the Wolves beat for Zagoda.
That's tremendous.
Thankfully, the bubble bath was strategically placed, but we saw a duck there too. Not a Wally duck, not a KG duck, but just a regular rubber ducky, and that may have started the whole phenomenon.
The concept of a duck, though, what's the inspiration there? Do we know? That's the,
that one I don't know. I got to ask around a little bit.
Yeah, come on, do some
oral history.
Do some investigative reporting, for God's sake. Yeah. Get on to this story, will you? So
I'm not sure where. But apparently now ducks are really popular on Jeeps. If you drive a Jeep, you have a bunch of ducks on the dashboard for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what that is all about either. But yeah, that's it. So.
Cities,
the ducks are here to stay.
Well, I'm getting texts. Cities around the world have duck boutiques. That's a thing, duck boutiques.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'll take him at his word. All right. We appreciate the time as always, Johnny. We'll chat next week. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
RBC Wealth Management, the fine sponsor of the Jonny Athletic segments on the Bumper to Bumper program. We got Ben Lieber late in the 4 o'clock hour, and we got Blake Cashman. About 5:15, we think, as well. We devoted a lot of attention to the offense. Obviously, the defense played extremely well. Let's come back and talk about it a little bit, because it very much looked to me like this was one of those occasions where Washington had no idea how to handle the various blitzes. None. I mean, they looked utterly and completely unprepared for the B-flow approach, and it pretty much showed largely from start to finish. We'll get into some more Vikings talking points as well. There's a lot to get to on the bowl controversies involving who's in and who's out. I might want to run that by Guardsy as well. So a very full program the rest of the way. Don't go.